For centuries, villages across Eastern Europe lived in terror. People were dying, bodies were found drained, and the locals had only one explanation: the dead were coming back. But what if the vampire was never a monster from the grave? What if it was something far more terrifying? A real human being, trapped inside a disease that science is still trying to fully understand today. The vampire myth didn't begin with Dracula. It didn't begin with Hollywood. It began with panic. In the 1700s, villages in Serbia and Eastern Europe were experiencing what they called vampire epidemics. People would die, and then days later their relatives would fall sick too. Same symptoms, same wasting away. When villagers dug up the bodies of the recently dead, they found something that horrified them. The corpses looked alive, skin still flushed, blood around the mouth, fingernails appearing to have grown. They didn't understand decomposition. They didn't have science, so they reached for the only explanation that made sense to them. The dead were feeding on the living. For hundreds of years, that's where the story stayed. Folklore, superstition, fear. But then came science. In 1985, a biochemist named David Dolphin stood before the American Association for the Advancement of Science and proposed something extraordinary. He suggested that the vampire myth, all of it, the sunlight, the blood, the madness, could be explained by a single real medical condition, a disease called porphyria. Porphyria is not one disease, it's a family of rare disorders, and they all share one problem. Your body cannot properly produce heme, the molecule that gives your blood its red color and carries oxygen through your body. When heme production breaks down, toxic compounds called porphyrins build up in your system, and what they do to the human body is deeply unsettling. First, sunlight becomes an enemy. Porphyria patients can develop extreme photosensitivity. Exposure to sunlight causes their skin to blister, darken, and in severe cases, literally scar and shrink. Sound familiar? Second, the gums. As the disease progresses, the gums of porphyria patients can recede and tighten, making the teeth appear more prominent, more pointed, more fang-like. Third, the mind. Some forms of porphyria cause severe neurological symptoms: anxiety, paranoia, episodes of psychosis. Patients could become unrecognizable to their own families. And finally, the craving. Some researchers have speculated that porphyria patients, perhaps instinctively, perhaps desperately, may have sought out blood to compensate for what their own bodies couldn't produce. The very thing they were missing. Think about what a porphyria patient looked like to an 18th century villager. Someone who only came out at night, whose skin was scarred and darkened from sun exposure, whose teeth looked long and sharp, who was sometimes found in states of madness, not recognizing their own name, and who, if the blood-craving theory holds, may have been found near blood. These weren't monsters rising from graves. They were sick human beings, in a world that had no language for what was happening to them. The vampire wasn't born from evil. It was born from fear, and from a disease we can now name.